Hey everybody, welcome to Wish We Were Then. This is the show where we go back in time to tell you all about what life was like in a year in the past, a year which is different than our own in oh so many ways, which we will find out. Here to do so, I am Trey, and I'm here with my great buddy, Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Wish We Were Then.
We got a doozy. This is a year I'm very excited about myself. I've found quite a bit of exciting information about this one. I'm bristling. I'm bursting at the seams, and I just feel like actually looking over it, I was like, ooh, there's going to be so much here that I can't wait to do this one again. I feel
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot.
I got to leave. I got to not say all this stuff because there's just too much.
Yeah, I had to stop taking notes at some point.
Yeah.
I was like, if I just keep doing this,
I know, I could be
be
at this for the rest of my life.
it'll be a 4-hour podcast.
This is one of my favorite years so far. Well, what year is that we're talking about? Well, first of all, like I said before, in case you're not familiar, we go back, we look at one specific year, and then that year we're looking at all of the things that made that year that year. What would it be like if you lived back then? The year in particular that we're talking about this time, I mean, calling all nerds and dorks, this is a great year for you. Not only for science fiction, I mean, science fiction movies were dominating the box office. Also, a seminal work in science fiction literature was released this year, but also in the world of music. The newly established punk rock and electronic musicians are starting to evolve into more introspective and emotional acts and sort of a new wave, and even the first goth rock comes out this year. So dorks, listen up. But not just pop culture. Also, in the fields of medicine and technology, there were just countless strides. Nerds had a big year. I think it was a cool year to be a nerd, in my opinion. But don't just take my word for it. J.J. Abrams himself made a movie about this year where a group of little dorks get together and do some nerdy stuff and have a great time. And people love that movie. Also,
Yeah.
Billy Corgan might have said it himself best when he said, "Cool kids never have the time." That's right, we're going to shake down all the way to 1979.
This is a great year of, there was so much going on. Like you said, I couldn't stop taking notes. I was like, at some point, I'm like, okay, something has to end here. It
Yeah.
has to end at some point. There's so many, so many people died. Every time I looked something up, it was like Sid Vicious, and then just a bunch of random people, like Conrad Hilton was 91, the guy who owned all the Hilton hotels.
Oh, yeah. Paris Hilton's
Yeah.
great-great-grandfather? Or is it, how many greats is there?
Probably just great-grandfather, because he was 91 and 79. When was she born?
She
In the
was
80s
91 and
probably.
79. She was born in 80. And then that means she's 61.
Is she his daughter? I don't know.
Is she Conrad Hilton in a fucking mask? Honestly, this was a year, there was so much that I was looking into. I kind of realized today that I was like, oh, I didn't even take note of, who died and who survived. No, who died and who was born. I usually...
Who made it out and who didn't?
This was a vicious year. No, but I didn't even really think about that. Because, you know what made me think of it was that Bon Scott, this was the last album for AC/DC that he was on before he passed away. And I was driving listening to Highway to Hell, and I was like, wait, did he die in 79 or he died in 80? And I don't remember. I just remember, but I was like, I have too much to think of, too many other things.
I didn't get that one down. So
Too much stuff. We have so many things. Mm-hmm. Well, let's start off with some, we normally jump into kind of the world politics, things of that nature. I don't know how much you got on that.
I got one big thing and then just a couple of small things. So the White Knight riots, which was Dan White, was a former city supervisor in San Francisco. He was responsible for the assassination of George Moscone, who was the mayor at the time, and Harvey Milk.
I thought that's where this was leading. I was waiting to hear if Harvey Milk was involved in this.
Yeah, the first outspoken homosexual politician. But the riots happened because White received voluntary manslaughter, and he broke into their basement and shot them both. And the reason he got manslaughter was because they said that he was such on a strict diet that he started eating junk food So it became
Oh,
made him
the
emotionally
Twinkie defense.
Yep, and it became the Twinkie defense because he was emotionally unstable, and that's why the riot started because that was BS. It's bullshit.
That's
It's
insane.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy, and it actually worked. That's so crazy. Wow.
Yeah, and it worked. Yeah, he got 7 years and 8 months, but he killed 2 politicians.
Yeah, we got manslaughter,
and
instead
it
of
would have
murder.
been a hate crime if anything
Yeah,
because
that
he
too,
was
yeah.
gay. You know what I mean? Like they would through the books, he would have got
That's so
you
crazy.
know like.
Yes, and that's something that I remember. Just kind of that, like I said, I read so many things. I kind of didn't write down a lot about the news articles this year, and so I just when you started getting to the end of that, I was like, oh, the Twinkie defense. Now
Yeah.
I remember milk and Twinkies. It's the easy way to remember that.
3 Mile Island was
Yes,
that
that was
partial meltdown of the nuclear reactor. How we got on the track of going away from nuclear energy.
Yeah, it was like the biggest nuclear disaster in U.S. history, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. On May 3rd, the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, became prime minister. And she served till 1990, was the first female prime minister, and was the longest serving PM of the 20th century.
Dang.
I thought she was prime minister longer than 1990. I thought she, was, because, she was just referenced so much growing up. I thought she had been prime minister when we were kids at some point, but
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess.
maybe it's just
She was for so long. She was popular. She was the first
Yeah.
woman one, so she was just prevalent.
noteworthy. Yeah. I mean, we didn't live there or anything, so.
No, but it was only less than 10 years after that, that
Yeah, sure.
that we were kids growing up with it.
I got 2 little fun facts here. Not super fun. Well, one of them's kind of cool. The other ones. These are both about different. What it would be like to be growing up in different countries at this time. In Sweden, on July 1st, Sweden became the first country to outlaw corporal punishment in the home. So they were the first ones to say you can't beat your kids into submission and smack them into shape no longer.
All the little Swedish kids are like, yeah, fuck you, Dad.
So it was a great day for little Swedish meatballs across the country. And then the other interesting home law abroad was in China. The one-child policy was instituted.
I didn't know that started this year.
Yep. And so that, led to the difference in, gender births, kind of being outweighed, being skewed.
Well, it definitely hurt them because they stopped doing that because their population started to decline so hard.
Yeah, but that's basically all I have for news stuff. I have a lot more fun, kind of just random things from across sort of news, pseudo news stuff.
Okay, you go first. I got some little things too.
I guess this is sort of news related. This was fun. The snowfall in the Sahara on February 18th for 30 minutes. Snow would not occur there again until 2016, and this is the first snowfall they have really on record in the Sahara Desert.
Damn.
It was in 1979. Record keeping there was not fantastic. There weren't a lot of people just sitting around watching the weather before that, but
They're
this is the
trying to
first time.
survive. They were
Yeah,
trying to find food
but
and water.
We know it didn't occur again until 2016, so it's not super likely it happened, very recently before 1979. And I think it's occurred just a handful of times since, once or twice since 2016. It's happening more now, though, they're saying, so.
Yeah, it rained really hard last year for them, and they predict that it's actually going to really affect the climate and the way that the whole continent is going to be shaped for them, and it's going to grow so many trees that it's going to reduce the carbon emissions, and it's supposed to be a big old thing that's because it flooded really bad last year.
That's interesting. Yeah, obviously getting a lot more precipitation there nowadays. But 79 snowed for 30 minutes. Thought that was pretty cool. A fun, interesting little tidbit here is that Sudoku most likely was designed in 1979 by it was anonymously designed, so that's why we don't know for sure, but by Howard Garnes. He was a 74-year-old retired architect and freelance puzzle constructor from Connorsville, Indiana, and it was first published in a 1979 Dell magazine as Number Place. And he died in 1989 before Sudoku caught on.
Dang, I like that game.
Yeah, there was a period where I played it all the time.
I played it on my phone for a while, and then on like paper as a kid. But it's
Yeah,
crazy that nobody like patented the game besides
No, yeah, it was
him.
just in-
You know, like
Well, there was like a bunch of variation, like a Japanese number puzzle. So that's what I thought was interesting. I thought the name made it seem like it was Japanese, and it just seemed like it was probably some old puzzle. I think there were a couple in different countries that were similar, but nothing that was exactly like this. He was, and he kind of just. They said they don't know for sure whether or not he even knew about those other games. He just sort of came up with this idea.
that's cool.
And then, like sent it into this magazine, and they published it. And again, he just sent it in as an anonymous dude, and it blew up way, way later. And like I said, unfortunately, he died 10 years after this, and never got to see it become a worldwide phenomenon. But it was like really, really popular for a while, and
Yeah,
do you ever do it where you just like draw the grid and fill it out?
I've never
blankly.
I've never been able to do that.
I've done it. I did it once. The first time I did it, I was just like, let me see what this is all. And I just did it, and I was like, that was fun. And then I tried it a couple times after that, and I was like, how the fuck did I just do that without thinking the first time? Because it's really hard to do consciously, I guess. The first time I just was absentmindedly doing it, and it worked out.
Yeah, you just got to get lucky.
Yeah, it basically must have been what happened.
Yeah.
I don't really. I mean, obviously you can do it, but
Yeah, if you know like how to play, like I passively played that game. Definitely didn't play it enough that where I could do it from.
Oh, I mean, I would play. I'd put it on like the hard mode on the app, and then half the time I'd give up on it. But sometimes, I mean, I beat it sometimes, but it was just like, man, it's really hard.
Yeah,
And if you don't have hints on, where it'll tell you that's wrong.
yeah.
If I do, if I don't have hints on, it's like, oh, no.
that's what I'm saying. Like if you had to play it like on a scratch piece of
Yeah,
paper,
exactly.
like that would be.
Yeah.
I got a fun little one. The Walkman was released.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of interesting technology pieces here. There was also it was $200 when it came out, the Walkman.
Dang.
Yeah, which was a good chunk of change for back then. The other two little cool technological debuts, voicemail was introduced, so that's fun. Which it's you think of it, it was on like a little tape.
What do you mean, like a voice record, like a
You call in and then the
like the answering machines?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
yeah
Okay.
yeah.
I don't know.
So.
Calling it a voicemail makes it sound too new. It's like, wait, I feel like that, but it is. That's what it is, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Those like the actual answering machine.
You got a message, right? And then this I thought was really interesting. James Dyson patented his bagless dual cyclone vacuum. You remember the Dyson vacuums were like a huge deal. I feel
Yeah.
like that was another thing that happened like 20 years later. Dyson vacuums were so. I remember being a kid and seeing the commercials with him like in black and white. Where he's like, "My vacuum doesn't lose suction," because, And those were so big so much later. So it's crazy. This was in 1979. Him getting off the ground, and he just had he just believed in his vacuum so much. It took him 20 years, but he finally got to the top of the vacuum game. And then he's not just vacuuming shit now. He's blowing stuff with the hand dryers, hand dryer in every Target.
He went the whole other direction, man.
I have conquered the sucking market. It's time to blow. No one can do this both ways.
Not like I can.
Look in Walmart. Look at the hand dryer. Does it say Dust Devil? I don't think so. There's a Dirt Devil. I don't remember. That's all my technology pieces here. But akin to technology is medicine. And here was just a couple big breakthroughs. Robert Jarvik patented the world's first permanent artificial heart called the Jarvik 7. It wasn't used until 1982, but this is when the first artificial heart was fully realized and the design was completed and everything. One really cool piece of information about this, though, is that the artificial heart was designed prior to this, but never patented, and we don't know exactly how much this guy borrowed from. The people that came up with the original design were Henry Heimlich, the guy who came up with the Heimlich maneuver, and Paul Winchell, who was just a world-class ventriloquist. He was the guy who came up with if you look up a dummy, it's like Paul Winchell, those old 50s dummies are his
Design?
Yeah, he's the one who made them famous. He was the first famous, big, not the first, but he was a big famous ventriloquist.
He made him popular.
He was also the voice of Tigger on the original Winnie the Pooh and stuff like
that's
that.
cool.
So this guy who was this ventriloquist and voice acting legend also went on to develop the artificial heart with the guy who developed the Heimlich maneuver.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's just a really cool story. So when I read this, I was like, Jim Jarvik developed the first. I don't know if that. What about Paul Winchell's work? So then I had to look into this, and I was like, getting to the bottom of it, and it's like some dispute how much he took from it. I was like, aha! And Paul Winchell, people actually went on to say in interviews and stuff that they think Jarvik actually did take a lot of information from this design, and that Paul Winchell was just like, it's all good. Like I just made it so people could keep living. I didn't make it so I could
make money.
Yeah, I'm sitting on 100-acre wood money. All right. So I thought that was a pretty fun thing.
That is really cool.
Yeah, they also cisplatin, an anti-tumor drug, and Zoloft and omeprazole were all patented this year. All came out. The last natural occurring case of polio was reported in the U.S. And the World Health Organization certified the global eradication of smallpox, which was the first human disease to be driven into extinction.
Damn.
Lots and lots of medicine stuff. So like I said,
I saw something, I didn't write it down, but maybe Timeless Tony could tell me. It's the first artificial blood to be used on somebody, and the person was a Jehovah's Witness, so they can't receive blood or body parts or something like that.
And they couldn't take it from like an animal or something.
Yeah, so he ended up being the first person to get like artificial blood.
I did not hear anything about that in my medicine.
Like I said, it was just in passing. I didn't write it down, but
well, you know what's the opposite of medicine is fast food and alcohol. Here's a couple things that I got on that vein.
Okay.
Debuting are Absolute Vodka, came out in the spring of '79. Corona beer. Corona Extra debuted in the U.S. It came out in Mexico in 1925, but it took all the way till 1979 to make its way up here to our country. So we have two new alcohol choices out there. What goes good with being drunk, eating at McDonald's. And McDonald's introduced the first Happy Meal in June. Cost $1. Yeah, so...
That makes sense.
Yeah, you get drunk, get drunk on Coronas, take your kid to the McDonald's. Oh, I cost $1.
Take a shot of Absolute.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's 1979. We're still playing fast and loose with laws like that.
Speaking of alcohol, so I look up the Cosmopolitan magazine came up with cocktails. It was a cocktail of the year. This one was a pina colada.
Oh,
classic.
Hey, would I like that if I like getting caught in the rain? That's something I enjoy.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think a little birdie told me that.
That's a cool. I mean, that feels like a very '79. I could just picture people having a little cocktail party, all holding, pina coladas.
Yeah, I just picture like that '70s show and like Bob.
With the blender and stuff. That's so funny. I got some sports news.
Oh yeah, I got some too.
Let's see this.
Let's get it on.
I thought this was a really good one, just because of how '70s the sentence comes out too for the NBA championship. On June 1st, the Seattle SuperSonics beat the Washington Bullets. None of that is anything you can say anymore, because the Seattle SuperSonics became the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Washington Bullets are the Wizards now. So it's not, you can't, the Bullets not around and the Supersonics not even a team at all.
Yeah.
They just, I always think it's funny too that they moved them to Oklahoma City and changed their name. It's like, kind of sounds like you got rid of a team.
Yeah, and then started another one. You
really
just used the players.
I guess maybe just like the towel guy was like, hey, cool, I still got a job. Are you not firing me, right? It's like, no, it's still the team. You're still here. We could get rid of Jerry. How would anyone know it's somehow still the same team?
Not the best towel boy we've ever had.
Right after June 1st on July 12th, I thought this was really cool, was Disco Demolition Night.
Oh, yeah.
This occurred at Kaminsky Park in Chicago. A crate of disco records was blown up between two games of a doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers. So they took like a big just crate full, because disco was at its height at this point. It was super popular, but also just starting to grate on people's nerves and people starting to hate it. So it's getting like a big, pushback. And so all those, cool baseball love at Chicago, Kaminsky Park motherfuckers go out and they grabbed all their disco records and throw them in the middle of the field, blow them up, and they messed the field up so bad they had to forfeit the second game. because they weren't able to play.
Yep, people like stormed the field and like was like breaking things.
Yeah, and the explosion and
yeah.
stuff also destroyed the field for playing. You couldn't run across this field that was all exploded. Very funny.
It's so good.
It was worth it to tell these disco, like, hey, we're going to spend all this money on all your records.
Why did they do that again?
Why didn't they?
Couldn't imagine why.
Yeah, right. Those are my fun sports stories.
John McElroy and Illy Natsau, they were like arguing the whole time throughout the match, and Illy Natsau got so mad that he refused to play because he said that they weren't treating him fairly. And then he got like deducted points for like not cooperating, and he didn't get up and play until they changed the line ref, and he ended up losing anyway.
Jeez.
But they're both like known. They had their nicknames. McElroy's nickname was Super Brat.
Okay.
and Illy's nickname was Nasty.
Those are kind of cool. It sounds like they were like a cool ass hip hop group in the 90s. Super Brad and Nasty? That sounds sick as fuck.
Yeah, so they were like known for being a-holes, and they just happened to play this match together, and they were just assholes to each other the whole time.
That's funny. That's a good matchup. I like whoever put that card together. Well, here's a little bit of tangential sports news that I thought this is very near and dear to my heart. Lance Mountain, professional skateboarder, he has basically part in developing the world's first fingerboard in 1979.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
You
you
guys
guys
didn't-
little trucks and wheels and put them on a little, I think the first one was kind of like pieces of cardboard or something that they had like glued together, and just him and his buds started making them. That was the first time they actually were able to like put wheels on them and skate them around and stuff.
I got another sports one. You'll appreciate it. Oh, Michigan State Spartans versus the Indiana State Sycamores, who had Magic Johnson and Larry Bird
Oh,
on
wow.
them. And then that same year, they would both get drafted, and Larry Bird would be on the Boston, and then Magic would be on the Lakers.
Wow, that's super cool. That's so cool just to see them go against each other.
Like in college,
Their
you're
whole
like
life.
you're like on like you're like going to that school in Indiana State, and you're like, dude, talk about legendary. What a story. We got to get that guy on.
Yeah, just the next year to see them going against each other, and then to just watch like, oh, is that old Larry?
We used to do beer bongs together.
I've seen that guy's dick. I've seen his dick. That's pretty cool. Well, shall we move past all this news-related information, get more into the,
Pop culture,
entertainment?
pop culture side of it all.
This is, normally we start off with like TV and music and stuff, but just to go first off with a book, I did mention it earlier. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy came out in 1979. You ever
cool.
you ever read it?
No, I've only ever seen the movie.
I started to read it, and I ended up having to stop for whatever reason. I mean, you never really have to put a book down, but I never came back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I love the movie.
yeah.
Really good
I love
movie.
the movie too.
Really, really cool movie. Very interesting. But yeah, I definitely need to finish the book. It's a cool
Is it
book.
like
it's written
satire?
interestingly. It's
Like that? Like the
Oh yeah,
movie?
yeah.
Like-
It's more unique in tone than the movie is. I
Okay.
guess. I mean, the movie is really interesting, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's an interestingly written book.
Well, especially like the way
Presented
that the
cool.
narrator speaks, I guess.
Yeah. There's a lot more. I mean, it kind of feels more like you're, getting information directly from the guide, as opposed to just watching the guide pop up on screen and tell you stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mhm.
Which is very cool. But moving past that, let's get into TV. The top 3 programs of the year, according to the Nielsen ratings. Number 1 was 60 Minutes. Nerds, this is your year.
That's the thing. They didn't let any of their kids watch TV.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're watching 60 Minutes.
Oh yeah, that was definitely a time where there was programming on TV, and then there was like child's programming.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of middle ground.
Yeah,
Number 2 was Three's Company. That's more fun.
that is more fun.
Number 3 was That's Incredible, and I
Wait, number 2 was Three's Company.
Two was Three's Company. Number 3 was That's Incredible. Yeah. 2 was 3. I don't remember what That's Incredible. I feel like I was going to look it up and watch an episode and forgot to. I think it was something where basically it was like, can you believe this person can juggle or whatever? You know, they come on and show their talent, I want to say.
Oh, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like a talent show.
But what debuted this year, we got Dukes of Hazzard, Facts of Life, Sports Center, and This Old House.
Sports Center. I didn't know that. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's cool,
Yeah.
huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard, Facts of Life, those feel like 1979 appropriate. This Old House, I was also surprised it had been around that long, that there was like renovation shows from the 70s.
Yeah, it
Kinda
makes
interesting.
sense. It's just like something that's always needed to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
No, and this is, you start to see, I mean, it is interesting to me. This 79 feels much more like the 70s to me. I know that seems rudimentary, but when you look at a lot of years, it's like, oh, the end of the decade kind of feels more like the next decade a lot of the time. Or, you know, it feels a
like
little more muddy.
It feels like it's falling into the next decade.
Yeah, I guess, but, well, when you look at like 1969, it was like, that's when Woodstock happens, and that's when you think of the 60s, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Maybe
I
it's
suppose
just
as it
the
gets more
80s.
recent.
Maybe it's just the 80s and 90s that
Yeah.
bled into each other.
yeah, when you get more recent, it's kind of like every couple of years has more of an identity to it, where it feels like, I don't know, the other years in the 70s still feel very 70s-ish, as well as this one, though, I guess is my point. It doesn't feel as different as I thought it would. Here's a couple other debuts. These were cool for networks that launched. On March 18th, C-SPAN debuted. On April 1st, Nickelodeon launched. And on September 7th, ESPN launched.
What was Nickelodeon's show in 1979?
Oh, they had, there was a network they spun off of that was called Pinwheel, and that was like just dedicated to children's programming, and it was like I think it was a public access thing in Buffalo, and they sort of spun off of that and grew into a network. So I think they sourced a lot of stuff from like Canada early on. A lot of it was educational, but I don't know that there was any. I don't think they had original programming for a while too. You know, you know, I don't know if Mr. Wizard had come out that early. I feel like that probably was later, but. Yeah, I don't know, but there's but like I said before, we were talking about there wasn't any kids programming. Well, this is like the start of kids programming, you know?
Yeah.
See, somebody in Buffalo said, C-SPAN is debuting and 60 Minutes is number 1 in the country. We can't have this. We need something for the kids. What are they going to watch? And so they started Nickelodeon.
That's cool. That is cool.
I was a Nickelodeon boy. That's what I watched growing up.
Yeah, me too. I didn't watch a lot of Cartoon Network.
Yeah, it was Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, or Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that's your choices.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Cartoon Network as well, and Disney. I loved cartoons, boy. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
what. But no,
tell you what.
but I would definitely default to Nickelodeon myself. Loved those Nicktoons. Well, shall we move on past the television set over towards the record player?
Yeah, let's mosey on over.
Well, the way we do things around here, I wish we were then, is we're going to look at the top 5. We'll delve deeper into some other stuff happening all over the year afterwards, but we're going to go 5 to 1 and dig deep into these to see what, you know, this was if you were driving around, you're going to hear this stuff on the radio. You're going to hear this stuff in the movies or in the soundtracks of movies that take you back in time, like Super 8. You heard some of this kind of stuff in there. Mm-hmm. So let's take a look first at number 5. Want to kick us off?
Yeah, number 5 is Reunited by Peaches and Herbs, written by Dano Furcus and Freddie Pernin.
How do you feel?
I mean, I think
Reunited.
this song is just a classic. You hear it in all a bunch of different movies.
It's always in commercials.
Yeah, and it's always, it's just so played out that I was
Yeah.
like, I guess I've never really knew that there was other words to this song.
Yeah, it's definitely when we do this show, it's so often where you hear an old song and like you have to immediately you're like, oh fuck this, but then you have to like remove yourself from like when we were kids, the song was already 15 years old or whatever when we were hearing it on TV, so it was like kind of a cheesy thing that they were doing intentionally to be like, remember this old thing?
Yeah.
And and then it just gets over. It's so you just know it as this cheesy old song that they use in dumb commercials and all this kind of stuff, and you just get married to this idea of it. And so then trying to listen to it without that is like putting yourself in someone's shoes and being like, oh man, the music sure is getting sexy these days,
Yeah, like, well, And then you start to like do more research, and then you start to like, it tells you about the artists and stuff like that. It helps you get a little more attached. So when I do stuff like that, it helps me rethink the song about like the people who are making it and things like that. It helps me attach a little bit to it.
Yeah, this is some fun information about the artists as well as the song itself. This was a sequel to the duo's 1968 hit "We'll Be United." So they first had the one called "We'll Be United," and then they had one 11 years later that was reunited. It was performed with the original Peaches. So, and that was a cover of a song by the Intruders. So, but it's funny to me that they're doing a sequel song to a song that they covered, but also this is with a different Peaches. They were on their third of 7 Peaches. It was always the same Herb, but they had 7 different Peaches over the course of this group.
Jeez.
And this was number 3. So it's like you're being reunited with somebody that you didn't sing the original song that you guys didn't even write. There's a funny little chain of events there. But third of 7, that's very funny. It's like Henry VIII with his wives or something. What was Herb doing, man? He was just a crazy time in the 70s.
Just running through them.
Also, it's funny that they were on 3 in 1979, and it's like, how much more life do you think Peaches and Herb had past 1979 that they ran through 4 more? Maybe that's why 4 more came in quick succession, because they were just like him just getting drunk every night. Like, why is no one coming to the shows? Freaking out, throwing bottles. And they're just like, I can't do this anymore.
It's your fault, Peaches. Get out of here.
Number 4. This is another cheeseball song, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart. This is one of those songs. It's Do Ya Think I'm Sexy? The more annoying part about it, too, is it also can be written as Duh, D-A. Duh, You Think I'm Sexy.
It's the worst.
I guess it's a little better if you're British or something. Do you think I'm sexy? It's like fat bastard sounding. Do you find me sexy?
Not only do we think this song's cheesy, but Rod Stewart said, and I quote, "If I ever wrote a song which put a fly in the ointment or a span in the works, it's this one."
Right. I've seen this as supposedly a spoof of disco music. Who knows if he was trying to get in on it or if he was just trying to make fun of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's also a good thing to say after the fact when you go like, yeah, I was making fun of it. Because like, obviously disco fell apart right after this. You got the disco demolition night we talked about. So, I mean, it's a smart thing to say either way, I guess. This also incorporates the melody from the song Taj Mahal by George Ben-Jor. And the string arrangement from the song If You Want My Love puts something down on it by Bobby Womack. I thought that was interesting. It's bunch of stuff mixed together, and the royalties were donated to UNICEF, which think this is
what
it's like a children's foundation, like the one you take the little box and get pennies at Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a wildly inappropriate song to donate the funds to children. Do you think I'm sexy? I'm giving all the money to little kids. Tell me if you think I'm sexy. Give me some
give
pennies.
Me some money.
Put some pennies in my little box if you think I'm sexy.
For my little kids' pockets.
Very strange, Rodney. But listening to it, again, trying to hear it with fresh ears, and once again, trying to remove all the countless commercials and funny scenes and comedies.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Actually, just hearing it, it's kind of a cool song. It actually is sort of a fun, cool song,
Like
I will say.
fun disco song.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's not overly disco, I mean, it's just disco. It's kind of like how Kiss does disco, and it's like, it still sounds like the band. And Rod Stewart, he has some cool stuff, I mean, especially when he was younger, I like the Faces and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like the Faces for sure.
Number 3.
Le Freak.
By Chic.
By Chic. They wrote this song because they were not let into Studio 54.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That the original lyrics were "fuck off."
Yeah.
And then they changed it because they realized that's not going to play on the radio. And it's like, yeah, of course it's not going to play on the radio. But then they changed it to "freak off."
Yeah.
And then they changed it to "Le Freak." And I think that's a weird sidestep, but worked out for him. Got him number 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Got it preserved by the Library of Congress in 2018.
Oh,
Yeah. And this was the first song to score the number 1 position on the Billboard Hot 100 3 separate times. So went up to number 1, came down, went back up.
Damn. Because it was a dancing song.
Yeah.
I bet you that's why.
Disco as hell. So it's funny that this, you can see we just got two big disco songs back to back. So obviously disco's huge, but then also have the Disco Demolition Night. This was just like, whether you loved it or hated it, it's all that
It's just in your
yeah,
face.
it was everywhere, including number 2, which was Bad Girls by Donna Summer. This is a fun song. This one's so funny because it's just like throwing everything disco that they could into a song. Like there's like toot toot, it's beep beep or whatever. It's like, what? You're not talking about a car. What's happening?
Yeah, exactly.
And like whistles and shit. Just so much going on in the production of this one.
And then I read part of this article that was like, this song helped her get the title Disco Queen. I was like, I don't know. I feel like there's other artists that could hold that title more, but maybe it's just because
I mean, Donna, she
made a, I don't know.
She had, well, I'll say this. She had 3 songs in the top 12 this year. So she had 2 of them were in the top 10, and then the third one was number 12.
Damn.
So yeah, she was all over the place. I mean, she's got tons of big hits. I mean, Gloria Gaynor's pretty big on the Disco Queen, polls or whatever.
Yeah.
But this song went top 10 in 7 countries. And it was written based on one of her assistants' experience being offended by a cop who thought she was a sex worker. I feel like that's just like really weird story to then spur on this Bad Girls song. So Donna Summer wrote the song, and then the
Inspiration can come from anywhere, Trey.
it's true. The founder of Casablanca Records, Neil Bogart, wanted to give it to Cher, but Cher, Donna Summer refused. She did not want to give it to Cher. She was like, "No, this is for me," and she shelved it for a few years before she was able to do it. But it paid off for her. She got number 2, became the Queen of Disco. Could have been Cher on the Queen of Disco.
Yeah, I doubt it. But
She's the queen in my heart of so many things.
I don't know about disco. She likes, I don't know. I feel like her genre is more.
She's done so many things.
Yeah, it's more broad.
Yeah, she's quite the broad. Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so coming up to number 1, we have My Sharona by The Knack. This song was their debut single, and it was Capitol Records' fastest gold record status debut single since I Wanna Hold Your Hand in 1964. So this was just catapulted straight to the top for the band The Knack, who would go on to just not do much else after this. Poor guys. Had a hugely successful song. Went, number 1 of the year. Fastest gold status since the Beatles came out, and it didn't really have much of a lasting career after that. Reportedly, the song took 15 minutes to write, recorded in 1 take, and was mixed in an additional 15 minutes.
Damn.
So yeah, didn't really spend a whole lot of time on this song. And
They just had a good recording day. It sounds like.
they lucked into one amazing song for them.
Is this the album cover?
Yeah, that's the real Sharona actually.
I mean,
She was the inspiration. She's not yours.
I can't believe they put
guy.
that on an album cover like that.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of. You can see some. If you want to see some boobs, Mark, I could show you some album covers from the '70s that had boobs on them. Believe it or not. The song has a lot of '60s inspiration when it comes to the music of it. Like the main hook is an inversion of the signature riff from "Gimme Some Lovin'" by the Spencer Davis Group. And if you listen to them back to back, you're like, oh yeah, it is basically like the guitar parts just like basically flip. It's inverted. You can just hear it when you listen to them one right after the other. It is very noticeable. And then the drum rhythm is, according to the lead singer, it's a rewrite of Smokey and the Miracles' 1965 song "Going to a Go-Go," which I listened to as well. And the drums are, it's just very whatever. But the guitar riff was definitely very noticeable. And then also the sort of stuttering "mama mama my" was also could be an allusion to The Who with "My Generation." So they just kind of modeled themselves after a '60s general.
People like the nostalgia of it, maybe.
I guess, but also there was a lot of.
Sorry.
We'll get into in a second, but there's a lot of punk rock and stuff like that coming out, and new way. A lot of people's tastes are changing. People are getting sick of disco, obviously. So it's very interesting that disco just got the top 3 spots behind this.
Yeah.
But then number one goes to a song that's much different than anything else we just got to take a listen to or whatever on this part of it. The last little tidbit about My Sharona is that it does probably the most lasting impact this song has had on our culture is that it started Weird Al Yankovic's career. This was the first song he got on the radio on Dr. Demento. This was his first parody song was My Baloney, My Bologna. And the NAC actually approved of this and had him signed to a one-off deal with Capitol Records, their label. So they liked his version of it, and they let him actually have it be released as a full-time single and everything. And then he got, this is what kick-started him off. And we would not have Al Yankovic if it was not for My Sharona.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the first ones I remember hearing from him. Also, with this song, I think of like Nine Coronas. Did you ever hear that version?
Yeah.
That's not him, but that's someone else. But yeah, that's another one. I remember hearing that a lot when I was a kid. Actually, I remember once being in gym class and I was singing Nine Coronas, and then the gym teacher was like, "Hey, who's over here singing My Sharona?" Because he thought that was like cool, and I was like, "Oh no, I was like, oh, yeah, it's me," I'm not gonna tell him what I was singing. But and he thought it was cool that I was singing this old song.
You guys became best friends?
Yeah, we hung out every day after that. He's still a good friend of mine. Come on in here, Mr. Kylander.
Kylander? Oh my God, I remember that guy.
All right, well, that's the top five. You got any extra additional info about those guys?
Nope.
Well, this is such a huge year for music. I mean,
Yeah.
the rest of the top 100 you can look at. There's a lot of really amazing tunes on there. Plus, just all the other albums that came out that year and the debuts of so many amazing artists this year. I put a bunch of this stuff on a playlist you can take a look at. Basically, everything up until Dance the Night Away by Van Halen is stuff that's taken off of the top 100, just various stuff. And then after that, it's a lot of like Boys Don't Cry, the original, the debut single from The Cure. We have, I always try to do this. I try to match my shirt to something if I can. The Pretenders debuted with their first singles this year.
That's cool.
Got Chrissy Hynde on the shirt here. Like Joe Jackson came out. Stiff Little Fingers. Thin Lizzy debuted. Patti Smith.
Black Flag.
Pat Benatar. Dead Kennedys. Like there's so many.
Blondie.
Blondie's one of my favorite groups. Yeah, Heart of Glass was up on the top 20. They also came out with another album. So many big, just huge releases, like Cheap Tricks, I Want You to Want Me, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. I mean, there's just this is actually probably my favorite year in music so far that we've looked into specifically.
Yeah, I think so too. Is this the Dead Kennedys' first album?
It was their first single. I don't think the album came out until 1980, but the
Okay.
single came out in 1979. I mean, you also got like just albums from like the Skids, the Slits. Their first album came out. Talking Heads had a great album. Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang debuted.
Damn.
So not just a great year for rock and punk, and like I
Yeah.
was saying, new wave. You start to see that kind of coming about. Bela Lugosi's Dead by Bauhaus. That's the first goth song. A lot of people say that's the origination of that. So.
The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Yeah, another Brick in the Wall, London Calling. I mean, there's just
YMCA.
a Rock Lobster by the B-52s. Dorks are having a year. Joy Division they debuted. Disorder came out. One of my favorite songs is "Cruel to Be Kind" by Nick Lowe.
I Was
love that
Made
song.
for Loving You by Kiss.
Yeah, some of that disco. Also, New York Groove. Ace Frehley had his own album, and that one's pretty disco sounding for one of the songs
Boys
that's
Don't
got-
Cry by The Cure.
Yeah, their debut. Bon Scott's last album with AC/DC came out this year, where Highway to Hell came off of. I don't know if I mentioned a minute ago, Pat Benatar. She's another one of my favorite artists. She debuted this year. John Mellencamp also debuted this year. Don't really care for him that much, but he debuted.
But still a lot of really, really popular musicians and artists.
Yeah, definitely take a look at that playlist. It's got some amazing stuff. You're not going to regret it, folks.
I'll guarantee it.
All right, well, let's take a look at, now that we've looked at the Billboard, let's look at the box office, shall we? We're going to take a look at the number one movie of the year. Before that, let me just rattle off the top 10, and we can look at some other movies that came out this year as well. As I said before, this is a big year for sci-fi, so take a look at the sci-fi stuff rolling in. Number 10, we got Meatballs. Not sci-fi, but We got Meatballs. Number 9 is Moonraker. Number 8 is The Jerk. 7, 10. More numbers in weird places. Number 7 is 10. 6, Apocalypse Now. 5, Alien. 4, Star Trek The Motion Picture. 3 is Rocky 2. And 2 is the Amityville Horror. Number 1 for the year, we will be getting into in a moment. But what do you think of the rest of these? Have you seen a lot of these?
I've seen a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the Amityville Horror. It's a great horror movie. I love horror movies. I've seen a great deal of those. Rocky 2 is a great Rocky film.
Yeah, I've seen that. Apocalypse Now.
I've never seen that one.
That's a good one. It's a good one. I like war movies.
I like Vietnam movies.
The Jerk I've seen.
Never saw The Jerk either.
Not in a very, very, very long time, but yeah, I've seen it before.
Alien is fantastic. I watched Star Trek The Motion Picture for the first time the other day in preparation for this.
Oh, okay.
I'd never seen it. I've seen only the unaired pilot of Star Trek. I've never seen like the actual show.
I feel like I've seen it, but I can't. I haven't seen it. It's been so long.
It's interesting.
And I've seen so many different Star Treks. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, they've done so many movies. Meatballs I have seen. Moonraker is a James Bond movie.
I've never seen Moonraker or I don't think I've even heard of Meatballs.
Meatballs is Bill Murray summer camp movie. I watched that this year.
I've seen clips of it. I don't know what that movie was called.
It's it's all right. You know, it's sort of the original summer camp romp movie, I feel like.
Yeah, that's like where all the other ones derived from.
Yeah. Well, we got some, other stuff that came out this year. You got any other stuff you want to mention?
Warriors.
One of my favorite movies
of all time. I love that movie. The game, too, on PlayStation 2.
I never played that. I always wanted that one. I never got it.
That was a good game. I didn't have it. I played it at my my friend's house.
Come out to play. Your new game on PlayStation 2.
He improvised that.
Yeah.
He just picked up somebody was drinking in the car and just picked up the beer bottles and started doing that. Life of Brian.
Another fantastic movie.
So good, man. I was just watching clips of it. Oh,
I know.
It's such a good movie.
That's it's funny. I grew up loving Holy Grail. And then I think the first time I saw Life of Brian, I was really young to be watching it. Because I remember my dad being like, well, this is the next one. If you like this, I loved this one growing up. And he showed me Life of Brian. And I think it was a little bit like, oh, man, this is a little bit advanced for my sense, but very quickly I graduated to now where I still love Holy Grail, but Life of Brian I love a lot more now.
Yeah, and it's a little more sophisticated.
Yeah, the humor's a lot more refined in that.
Yeah.
A couple other of my favorite movies that came out. I mean, really a few of my favorite ones. Mad Max, the original, the first one. Mm-hmm. It's not actually my favorite of the 3 original ones is probably the second movie, but this is the start of that. Phantasm is a movie that I love. It's a really weird horror movie that if you like horror movies, I recommend checking it out. It's very strange and cool and weird. But I think my favorite movie to come out this year is, because it's pretty close between a couple of these, but my number 1 for the year is The Muppet Movie.
I wrote that down too. It's so awesome.
I love that movie. We'll probably talk about that later too. All right, but the number 1 movie of the year
is Superman, the movie.
This came out on December 15th of 1978.
Yep.
So it was a little confusing to keep whenever I'd look it up, I'd look up 79 and everything came up 78.
Yeah.
Was that right? Because did you watch it off the link I sent to you?
Yes.
Because, that said 1978, 1979 VHS release. And so I was like, first of all, that tripped me out. I was like, they had VCRs, and I guess that makes sense. And so then I went into a dive about VCRs and stuff, but more on that later.
I was like, I don't think so.
They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, that was a rip of the original VHS tape.
Yeah.
Of Superman.
I had to get used to it.
I watched it for a second to see if it was the right thing, and I was like, oh, hopefully, Mark can get through this. I didn't know how bad the quality was or not.
It wasn't bad.
It was on archive.org. Really great site. If you ever want to know, if you find some old movie or something, or old books and stuff like that, go to archive.org, and they have a lot of it. Not always, but they usually have a lot of good stuff. I mean, I've watched full seasons of old cartoons and stuff like that from MTV that they don't have anywhere else.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really, really great site. This Superman was the most expensive film made up until that point.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how much it cost him when I saw the price.
$55 million in 1978 money. And it got $7.5 million in the opening weekend. made $134.5 million domestic, $300.5 million worldwide. Quite a good amount of money back. I mean, that's like today money numbers.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money all over on this one.
Yeah.
This was directed by Richard Donner, written by Mario Puzo, and starred Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, Ned Beatty, and Marlon Brando.
I mean, I really like this movie.
Had you seen it ever before?
I think I watched it again, like, I think bits and pieces, because, I don't know, as a kid, just never got into it, but I can appreciate it a lot more now, you know?
I remember the second half a lot more than the first half, I feel like. It spends a lot of time building up.
I didn't realize that either, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It definitely takes its time. We don't see the suit until 48 minutes in. I took a note of that. Like when he first is standing up in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time in Smallville.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that show. You ever watch Smallville, the show? No,
I always
Superman
thought
is
it
never a character that resonated with me, really.
No, to be honest, I think I liked him a little more now after watching this.
Yeah, me too, I would say.
Because I was a skeptic of him, too. I was just like, you know,
I was found boring.
Nothing can kill him.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
He's not
like
compelling.
indestructible, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I did watch Smallville. Smallville's, especially the first season, is fun because it's kind of like Monster of the Week. It'll just be like some new person has some crazy superpowers and he has to defeat them. But it was interesting to see, you know, I mean, obviously it's based on the same stuff, but you can have multiple takes on something and have it come out much differently. But it felt very similar to the show Smallville in the beginning of it, like all of the Kansas scenes and stuff. But
That's cool.
yeah, they take their time building up to it, man. I'll tell you that.
I think I believe it or not, like, appreciated the effects
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
of it, you know, like, obviously they weren't great, but
Well-
they were good from what...
Speaking of the just Kansas scenes and the effects of it, I don't know if you caught these little bits of it, that the kid who played Clark Kent would go through 3 or 4 hours of prosthetics to look more like Christopher Reeve.
Damn.
And also they had Christopher Reeve dub over his voice in the finished project. So it's actually adult Superman voice over the kid's voice.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they did a really good job of both
Yeah.
those things. I didn't really notice either. And,
Yeah.
you know, but it's like, damn, you guys put a lot of work. We couldn't just let the kid be like, we believe that he's going to grow up and be different, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking too, like, they cast this kid really well.
Yeah,
like,
I guess they got as close as they could and they said, not close enough.
Yeah.
You know, they had to do more work on it.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, like I said, time and effort you can tell went into it.
Yeah. And, you know, that ended up winning them a Special Achievement Award at the Oscars for visual effects. Mm-hmm. So they wanted, this was another thing. I had to look into the history of like Oscars for visual effects. And it's like, technically they existed before this. And I think it was something basically like if there was nothing to say that they were competing against, really, if it was like a no contest situation, there's like Superman's wiped the floor with everybody else. We're giving it to them. So I think that's sort of what it is. If it's like a special achievement, because it's like, hey, you achieved something, so you just knocked it out of the park. No one else is going to come close. We're not holding votes, basically. Mm-hmm. This is what I believe it comes down to. It was also nominated, though, for Best Sound, Music, Score, and Editing.
Yes. But they won 9 Saturn Awards.
Fitting.
Which is, like, makes sense. Cause, like, but you talked about, like, it's not like they didn't have competition in that. You know what I mean? They had Star Trek. They had other...
yeah, I'm kind of surprised.
You know.
I mean... Because Star Trek was really, although Star Trek came out in 1979, so this came out in 78.
Yeah, that's true, too.
So maybe that was it.
I didn't think about that.
I'm not sure. I don't really know exactly what. And like I said, I did get into the history of this award and was like, this is unclear. I'm not going to, sit here and look up this award. I'm looking up 1979 and stuff, so I didn't want to get too in the weeds there. But they did, win an Oscar and were nominated for 3 others. So, and yeah, like you said, the effects were fantastic in this movie. Mm-hmm. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
Like the flying and stuff, I think they did an amazing job on it. The interesting thing to this movie to me was the tone of it was surprising. I think that it was a lot more like grown up in much of the movie than I thought it would be. And then really the only scenes that were kind of goofy and silly were like the scenes with Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure it out while I was watching it. It did undergo a lot of rewrites, and it kind of seems like there were 2 versions of the script, one that was taking itself seriously and one that was being silly. And
Yeah.
I feel like Superman has always been a character to me that takes himself very seriously, or the writers do, you know. And so this was way more of a campy movie than I thought it would be. You know, and like the Ned Beatty's character just being like, "Oh, I don't know, boss." Like it's so ridiculous, you know. It's like so silly in those scenes. And my thought process was like, you know, I think they ended up combining the two things and sort of leaving the villain scenes to be campy and the superhero parts to be serious as a way to make it palatable to audiences because they weren't used to seeing comic book stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Like the only thing they knew about was Batman, the TV
And that
show.
was campy.
Yeah, and so they go like, okay, well, we can't make the villains part serious because that's just going to be a bummer. So we'll make the villains funny like the Joker and all those henchmen and stuff. And the Superman parts, we're going to make that serious. You know, we can't make the whole movie serious because people don't want to watch that. We have to still make it silly because that's what they're expecting.
Yeah.
So it did feel like two different movies were happening at the same time because they would just cut away to like literally them driving down the street with like wigs on and shit
Yeah.
and being like, well, we're going to try another thing. Hook up the house. And it's like, you just had a house for a backup plan? Like, it's so silly.
Or he brings him his robe, like in the pool.
Yeah, it was just a, I thought they were enjoyable, but it just felt so out of place with the rest of the movie. I liked it though because I thought the movie was going to feel very dry and kind of boring because it takes itself so seriously, but it ended up being sort of charming in a way.
I didn't expect it to be so goofy after they killed that guy in the train. That cop.
Oh yeah,
Would they push the door and they push him in front of the train?
yeah. Then it just gets more lighthearted as we go along.
Yeah.
And
it's all
and
uphill from there.
I love at the end that they like this movie really doesn't. So often you'll see a movie where like the first outing of the superhero, they go out and at the end you see them do like one big heroic thing, and then like every movie after that like way ups the stakes and stuff, and then you go back to watch the first one, you're like, yeah, in the first one he just like saved somebody or something, you know, and then the fifth one he's like saving the world from an explosion, whatever. But this one, he just right out the gate is like, you know, reversing the faults from crashing, and they just like unbrake. And then he spins the whole world backwards to reverse time. It's like he just does he resurrects Lois from the dead. He just goes all out and does everything possible.
I think that was
Like they could have ended it with the missile.
But I think they did that because they were just taking like what worked in the comics.
Yeah, but I think
they're
they
like,
should have
let's
just stopped
take
with the
these-
missile going to space. That would have been like the ending. That could have even been the ending of a modern superhero movie. Like he throws the
Yeah.
missile out to space and that's it. That was his
Yeah.
first time. You know? But
It's like, nope.
you're right. They had like, you know, 60 years of comic books or whatever to be working off of.
Yeah.
It's like, well, people already know he can throw missiles into space. Like we have to show them something more impressive.
Yeah. They're like, let's do like I think they went back and they're like, all right, let's do this, this, and this, like from these comic books.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a prior Superman appearance here because I was interested to see how familiar were they with this character and with superheroes in general. So other than the Batman show, there was an old Superman cartoon show, but it wasn't really like a big thing, and it was very early on. But the first real appearance of any DC superheroes at all was Superman and the Mole Men in 1951. And it was a backdoor pilot for a TV show, The Adventures of Superman, that ran from 1952 to 1958 and had 104 episodes.
Dang.
So there was a show that existed. I don't know how big it was. Let's see if we can get some pictures of the 1952 Adventures of Superman TV show. So, there was, some existence of him and everything, but, he didn't really have a big, strong presence before this, obviously. This was kind of audiences getting used to the idea of seeing this sort of thing in theaters.
So what was the show that we watched? The Superman show, like, was that from like the 80s?
Which one?
I don't know. I remember watching an old Superman show when I was a kid. I'm wondering if it's this one. Because it was. I remember it being old, like as fast as a speeding bullet. And he like.
Yeah, this probably is what this is then.
Because I watched that when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. It starred George Reeve, and it's funny because this was a well-known one. I don't know what. Now I'm seeing pictures of it. And it's like I definitely recognize this more now that I'm looking at it. Mm-hmm. And it all floated back to me. I saw his face and was like, oh yeah, it's George Reeve.
Yeah.
He was he's not related to Christopher Reeves, one of them's a Reeve and the other is a Reeves, so they don't actually have the same.
Just a coincidence.
Yeah, it is a coincidence here.
Okay.
Speaking of Christopher Reeve, I got some information about him and his casting here that I think is very cool to take note of because we very we very, very barely got Christopher Reeve in the role. Basically, it was they wanted to be anyone but him, essentially. Leading up to this, they initially DC got when they were approving the project, they got a list of actors and they approved a list of them. Here's some of them that they approved: Muhammad Ali, James Caan, Al Pacino, Steve McQueen, and Clint Eastwood. That's who they were feeling for the role of Superman.
I feel like Steve McQueen would be the only other person I would choose out of that list.
Yeah, there's some weird.
Why
maybe
Muhammad Ali?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. There's some strange ones in there. Before Richard Donner came onto the project, they wanted it to be an A-lister. He decided he wanted someone more unknown. But before he came on the scene, they were considering Robert Redford, Burt Reynolds, Sylvester Stallone, and Paul Newman, who they offered his choice of any of the roles he wanted in the film, and he declined being in it at all.
Paul Newman?
Yeah.
You probably saw it as too late.
All these people also seems like they would have been kind of older in 1979 to be the character. Like everybody so far mentioned, like is older than I would think of casting Superman. You know?
Yeah, maybe not Al Pacino at the time.
Yeah, I guess some of these people were, but it's like Burt Reynolds. I guess I don't know.
He's always been old.
Yeah, exactly. His mustache makes him feel old to me.
No, but wasn't he in Dukes of Hazzard?
No.
Or am I tripping?
No,
That's a different show.
No, he was in Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
I love the idea of Sylvester Stallone being Superman. So, hey, Lex Luthor, you diseased maniac. That was my favorite line. Lex Luthor, you diseased maniac. Let's see. Also, John Wayne's son Patrick was cast. Patrick Wayne was cast, but he had to drop out when his dad got stomach cancer. Both. These are too funny.
Burt Reynolds was in Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, he was in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Okay. He played Boss Hogg in the movie. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. I forgot that movie existed. Because the show came out this year.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, I thought you were talking about the show. Neil Diamond and Arnold Schwarzenegger both lobbied hard for the role and were ignored. That's what I read. It said that they were ignored.
Who was the first one?
Neil Diamond.
Oh, that's funny.
Neil Diamond and
What
Arnold
the heck?
Schwarzenegger. Yeah, really funny.
I mean,
too.
Arnold Schwarzenegger makes sense. He's already like a big, strong guy. Like it's
Yeah,
not
I
like
mean,
you
it
gotta
makes
like
sense to be
make him like fill out a suit or anything. You know?
right. I think he had really just been introduced to the world a year or two prior. I feel like so. I think they were like, we're not having this guy.
Lex
be-
Luthor, you mad crazy maniac.
Listen, Lois, I'm in love with you. The best part too, the scream at the end when Lois is dead and he looks up, he's like, ah, and he just rushes toward the camera. It was really funny, even as it was, but I can't imagine how great it would have been being Schwarzenegger. Lois, ah, and there's like zooming in on him. God, that would have been hilarious. His big veins in his neck just bulging out. These some people that were approached by the studio that all presumably turned it down were James Caan, James Brolin, Josh Brolin's dad, James Brolin, Christopher Walken, Nick Nolte, John Voight, and Warren Beatty. It would have been funny if Warren Beatty was in it and Ned Beatty was his little lackey. And Charles Bronson and Chris Christopherson were considered for the role. So all of those people were in line before we got down to Christopher Reeve.
Who brought in Christopher Reeves after all that?
They wanted someone who was unknown. They brought him in early. Someone had seen a screen test with him, and they wanted him for the part. And there was just so much of the studio being, well, we want someone who's known. And then they don't want this, want this. And then they thought that he was too skinny. That was a big part of it. Because when he first showed up, he was only 188 pounds. And he went and packed on some muscle, came back at 212.
Damn.
Up from 188.
Damn.
By training with the one and only David Prowse, better known as the physique of Darth Vader.
Oh,
The man in the suit. He trained, so he was inside Darth Vader's suit, and then he trained Superman to be strong after that.
Damn.
Pretty sick. He was
That
also a
is cool.
bodybuilder in real life. I didn't know that.
Damn, that's sick.
Yeah, he actually wanted to be Superman as well, and I believe they didn't want him to because of his accent. I think was kind of what they told him, or they probably were like, "Oh, we can't your accent." And they're like, "Also, no one knows who the fuck you are, dude."
Yeah.
But we'll let you train the real guy. But that's all, like, damn, like, serendipitous. I mean, whatever you want to say. A lot of factors had to go into getting him this role.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's a good Superman. It's, again, a character I'm not crazy about or have super strong opinions about how good one is or not. But I think he does a good job of not coming across as very wooden or, You know, he also does a good job of kind of making you believe there's a chance that Clark Kent and Superman aren't the same person.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I also liked Lois in this one, Margot Kidder. She's great. She was from Black Christmas, which is one of my favorite movies. We've talked about that one before a little bit. So cool cast, really wonderful special effects.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn long, I will say.
It was longer than I expected it to be.
And for a good portion of it, I was like, this really doesn't feel long because it's like they're segmenting it in a good way. It takes so long to even get out of Smallville. And then, you know, and then you get to you see him as a reporter and you see him kind of do some small crimes that he's solving. And then he gets a little bigger. But towards the part where, like I said, when you start seeing Lex and his lackeys going and trying to like steal the warhead and doing all that, and you keep coming back and forth to that over and over, and then it starts to just drag on. And then you see him saving the world, and then it starts to spend a lot of time in the desert and stuff. So
yeah.
That's the only reason I didn't really love it. I would have like really, really enjoyed this film way more than I expected. But you know, overall, I still definitely liked it.
Out of 1,979 stars, how many stars?
Out of 1,979 diseased maniacs, what are you going to give this one? This old diseased maniac is giving it, let's see, I'm going to probably give it a good 1650, feels appropriate to me.
I was going to say, yeah, like 1,590.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely want it to be a strong rating, but I would go higher if it just, you know, had been cleaned up a bit. I mean, and again, there were multiple iterations of this script, and then when it came around, they wanted to shoot part 1 and 2 back to back. So the working script they had that they were going to be shooting off of was like 550 pages. And essentially, you know, a basic rule of thumb is like a page should equal about a minute. So you're looking at 550 minutes of 2 movies is what they were looking at. So that's altogether far too long, you know? Like that's very, very, that's like 2 3-hour movies or whatever. Like, but that's, you know, that's a crazy amount of time.
It is. It's a lot of time.
So they were able to cobble together a really good first movie. I haven't seen the second one, but I enjoyed this. I thought this was pretty fun. It was a good movie to go back to, and I can say it definitely would have been a fun time to be at the movies in 1979.
For sure.
To see all this kind of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
This was really cool. And also a cool year, like no matter what age group you were in, I feel like. If you're a kid, you're watching Superman and the Muppet movie, but also as adults could watch those too.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Muppet movie has a lot of grown-up jokes and stuff like that. And cool horror movies out. Like I always like when you see a horror movie in the top 10. Number 2 was Amityville Horror. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of great information that we've gone over here looking at the year. I think I'm ready to move on to the last little thing we do before we both tuck each other in and go to sleep until next time. Is we're going to just see what our favorite thing of the year was. If you got a couple runners up or a few things that you want to throw in the ring beforehand. Or you got your favorite thing ready and picked out.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I kind of like the disco demolition.
That's pretty cool.
That's kind of one of my tops for sure. But I thought it was important, was they came up with the CAT scan, or not, they got the Nobel Prize for it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At least. They came up with it before, like in 72 or something.
Yeah, that's a lot of this stuff I saw they patented this or they invented this and it didn't come out until a couple years later. So medicine takes a little while to move, but
yeah. So yeah, the CAT scan, the guys who did it got the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, like I said, huge year for medicine and just technology in general.
Oh, and you know what? Actually, there was the hologram was invented, like the holographic like picture, like on a card.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was one of my runners up too.
That's a neat thing. I love those Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
and the T-shirts. Anytime I see one of those, I'm always like, oh, fuck. Even nowadays when I go into like a smoke shop or something and I'll pass a little picture or whatever, and I'll be like, and I'll walk back and forth for a second, like a snake being charmed. Here's, I mentioned the movies that were some of my favorites. The Muppet Movie, Life of Brian, The Warriors, Mad Max, and Phantasm were all on my list of possibilities. And then a couple albums that came out. The Fine Art of Surfacing by the Boomtown Rats is one of my favorites. In the Heat of the Night by Pat Benatar. Eat to the Beat by Blondie. Those are all pretty close to the top. But I think overall I'm going to have to go with The Muppet Movie.
Yeah. I love that
I
movie.
really love that movie. I love them. I love all things Muppets. Like I just started watching the show from like 2015 or something like that came out. That was sort of like it was like an office thing. That it was like their workplace comedy where they're talking to the camera and stuff. But it's like a late night show starring Miss Piggy, and they all work behind the scenes and stuff. Just started watching that the other day. Anytime I see a Muppet thing, I'll check it out. But
What's that on? I want to watch that.
It's on Disney Plus. It's like, it was an ABC thing.
Okay.
But yeah, any Muppet thing I always check out. I love them, all things Muppets. And the first movie is, I think, it's probably the height of it. I mean, the show's great, but I think that the Muppet movie is probably my favorite Muppet thing overall. So, we forgot to say beforehand, everything else from this year disappears. Nothing else comes back. This is it. We just all we get is the Muppet movie and CAT scans. That's pretty good. Usually we end up with just some dumb bullshit, but this time we get CAT scans at least. So. This was, like I said, really, really great year. Awesome movies, awesome music. There's still so much to delve into
Yeah.
that we didn't even touch. We didn't even mention. I got stuff written down here that I just was like, I forgot to research that. I have like a headline written here that I'm like, what the fuck that happened? Tell me more. And I'm like, hey, can't this year.
Yep.
Gotta wait till we get back around to this one. But just a really wonderful time. I had a great time looking at this one. But we got to put it to bed for now.
Yep. And so do we have to put ourselves to bed, apparently?
We got to get tucked in. And then we go back in time again. We're going to look at a different year next week. But I know you guys go and watch all these movies, spend your time in 1979. I wish I could join you, but I can't. I got to research a different year. I know Mark feels the same. I feel like we both feel the same way, and that's that we
Wish we were then.